a tough week. We're trying to pump these out, as much as we can. I'm excited to talk football again today. It's therapeutic to be on this show, and I'm sure it's therapeutic watching this show. Amazing stuff. Amazing
It's
content.
therapeutic for everyone involved, especially when you're a Seahawks fan. You got to go through these
Oh
rough
gosh,
weeks recently.
very rough. But
All right,
we're showing life.
let's
Yeah.
just dive right in.
Let's
I
just
mean,
dive right in.
let's start out with what feels like forever ago. After all the trials and tribulations of this past weekend, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Buccaneers won that game 28-22 in a pretty convincing fashion. The Eagles kind of snuck back in there for a little bit. What are your thoughts?
I want to say last week I did talk about Antonio Brown. I talked about how I think he's still top receiver in the league. I think Thursday night he was the best receiver on the field again.
I agree.
And what can you say, man? This Bucks team is very good if they can pass the ball, and they're passing 68% of their plays, which is one of the largest in the league. You question if it's sustainable or not, but the Bucks ran away with this game from the beginning. The score's a lot closer. The final score is 28-22, and the score was a lot closer than the game indicated. Two garbage time TDs from the Eagles. They did have life at the end, but it was still they were able to run the ball. And when the Bucks can run the ball, the game is really over because you can't stop the passing attack. And with that balanced offense, it would be very difficult to stop. Leonard Fournette was getting on the ground, two TDs on the day. He's the clear number one back. I think the Bucks are a great team, and I think they're going to clearly run away with the division, especially after the Panthers result this week.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a little bit of threat from the Saints. We'll see how they do against the Seahawks this week. They're still kind of an unknown player in the field. I'd like to see them play against Tampa Bay. For me, this game was about how Jalen Hurts just is not the quarterback right now. I mean, I know the Eagles kind of got a free year because, they have the three top 10 picks potentially next year, and this year they're kind of figuring out Jalen Hurts, what he is, and so far I was really not impressed with that game. I thought he looked lost. He was running from the pocket. He was running from the pocket too quick. He would look up, bail, and then just try to make a play on the run, but it wasn't there for him. It just felt like he was very jittery, and he had no mental process, which as an Eagles fan is not very inspiring.
Yeah, talking about the Eagles, I disagree a little bit. I agree he looked lost out there. I still think Jalen Hurts has shown enough that they can trust him right now, and considering the weapons he has, they're some of the worst in the league for sure. It's a
I don't know
pretty
about
struggling
that. I
offensive
don't know
line.
about that.
Uh, I think, I mean, they just traded away Zach Ertz, who was his favorite target so far, um, which we'll talk about. Maybe we'll talk about the football team, or no, the Cardinals. But
Cardinals.
yeah, I'm not sure. It's a rookie wide receiver, essentially another rookie wide receiver in Jalen Rieger. Those are the two best guys. Quez Watkins, I don't know, man. It just seems like a really underwhelming offensive position group.
Yeah.
Um, and the offensive line is not anything to cheer about either. So I think you give Jalen Hurts a year at least. Spend those top three picks on great guys, especially with the class coming in. The quarterback class is not it's not what we've seen in the last couple of years for sure. So
Yeah, but
I
they could
think
also
save
leverage
the
those picks
picks.
to
They
trade for a
could.
quarterback.
Yeah,
I,
I mean
I mean, I
Deshaun
don't know about
Watson, a
Hurts.
lot of guys.
I think there's some truth that his weapons aren't that great, but I also think there's some truth that he isn't taking advantage of what he's got. I think Devonta Smith is probably open more than we think. Um, Dallas Goedert's a pretty good tight end too, and their O line has
Sure.
been banged up, but generally I think healthy they have one of the best O lines. Well, on to the Bucks. I thought they dominated the first half and they kind of eased up. Um, they're not healthy on the back end, and I was very disappointed to see Jalen Hurts not take advantage. But the Bucks win, Eagles lose. In the end, that's all that really matters. Let's hop on to the next game. What do you want to jump to Sunday Night Football or start with the mornings?
Let's start with the morning game. We'll come back to Sunday night before we talk about the
Okay.
Monday night game. So the Dolphins Jags, London game, home field advantage, you could say for the Jaguars. I mean,
Yeah, basically.
Locker room celebrations in the locker room. Urban Meyer, maybe he's got his team back. I mean, first one of the year.
Maybe they went and celebrated in Ohio.
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Crazy dudes, crazy. The Jaguars are an interesting team right now. Obviously, the story was last couple of minutes. You had two 50-plus yard field goals, I believe. Tua came back. A lot of storylines. Tua Trevor rematch, obviously a big deal. But this game was kind of irrelevant. I mean, these are two bottom 5 teams for sure right now.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I still think it's clear that Trevor Lawrence, especially after this game, that he's the best rookie quarterback and was deserved the number 1 pick. Even with Mac Jones, how stellar he's been playing, like Trevor Lawrence just gives you something that Mac Jones can never do. So I understand why he's the number 1 pick. I still think that's the right play. But both these teams, I don't see. I see finishing, hoping to get 6 wins. So
yeah,
not much to say.
I mean, it was nice. The Jaguars finally got that monkey off their back. I believe it's 20 straight losses. I think Trevor Lawrence is definitely trending up. He's made some boneheaded plays, but he's a rookie.
Yeah,
on the flip
he's
side,
cut the turnovers down for sure.
Dolphins suck. They're not a good team, but Tua looked really good. I thought he played well. He had that one ugly pick, but overall, he put up a good line. I thought he played well. Their defense is really hurt right now. They're missing both starting corners. I'm pulling for Tua. I think Dolphins can get out of this slump a little bit and not finish as one of the bottom teams, but it depends on health and it depends on Tua because I think he's a better player than Brissett.
Yeah, I mean, but the problem is, we keep saying with Tua, how many games has he had where he looked good and he throws an ugly pick? I mean, it's becoming a trend at this point. But I do believe in Tua. I think he's a good quarterback. I just don't believe in the weapons around him. Devontae Parker going to come back this week, so hopefully they can bounce back.
They didn't have Will Fuller or Parker this past week.
Yeah.
So again, he's last year he had no weapons, or at least they weren't healthy. And then this year, he's got Waddle. Waddle did pretty well, but
he's had no weapons or he isn't playing. So it's really hard to judge Tua still. He's still young.
Actually, probably the worst in the league.
Yeah, true.
All right, let's jump. That game, kind of a poo-poo fest, but let's move on to how about Packers-Bears, a battle of the NFC North. So actually, if the Bears won, they'd technically be winning the NFC North, but obviously the Bears lost 24-14. And it doesn't really look like any team in the NFC, well, maybe the Vikings, but it doesn't really look like the Bears are really playoff contenders. I mean, they just really did not impress me against the Packers, and the Packers are missing a lot of dudes, and they still win by 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, is Aaron Rodgers a daddy or what, dude? I mean, oh my gosh, dude, his long hair. I hate it, but I can't deny the facts. I mean, that clip of him. Oh, he is feeling himself.
Oh, he's always feeling himself.
Everywhere. Especially right now after that little talk to the sideline. I'm sure you've all seen the clip. Not going to quote it directly. There's some vulgar slang in there. But I think the Packers are a great team. I think the Packers are going to win the NFC. We'll talk about it later in the power rankings. But Aaron Rodgers is a bad man, I mean, I think the Bears, talking about the Bears, I don't think they're going to make playoffs. I completely agree with you. I think they're going to be a 500 team around. That they're good enough to win games. Their defense has showed signs of being that team. Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack healthy is always going to be difficult for offensive lines. Always. Really well. Robert Quinn has been playing really well. I saw a play today or that game. He just tossed Robert Tonyan to the side on a run play, I think. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely talent on that defense. I question how long it's going to last, though. Their window is opening on offense.
Defense isn't the
but
problem.
Closing on defense.
Defense isn't the problem this year, I'd say. I mean, their offense scored 14 points. The Packers are missing both their starting corners, Zadarius Smith. I mean, their defense, besides those guys, is not very good, especially Jair. So, the Bears scored 14 points. It's not a good sign.
Shout out Khalil Herbert. A rookie replacement coming in for David Montgomery. Had a good game. Probably the rookie performance of the week, 97 yards and a touchdown. I think if the Bears can run the ball and pass the ball well, I'm a little confused. They had a lot of – I mean, they're just really struggling to pass the ball, aren't they? I mean, they're struggling to create separation outside, and that's combined with bad offensive line play and Justin Fields just being not accurate enough.
No, he's not great. Yeah,
And I do think this Bears offense has potential, but I just don't think Matt Nagy's the guy to bring him out of it. So, but I say special
Yep.
play calling, they've had been better than when they had with Matt Nagy.
Yeah, I just don't know if Fields is there yet. I don't believe in this offense enough. I think if they'd won this game, it'd be a different story, but I don't think they can make the playoffs. Even
It
with
didn't
that.
really look like they were going to win this game, though. Even they were up in the beginning, and still they didn't look like they were going to win this game.
Yeah, even with the bottom of the NFC not being bad or not being good, I don't think they can sneak in.
Yeah, 3-3 is the wild card right now, the Vikings. So
Yeah.
it's not as hard as it looks. The Seahawks are only one game back, for example.
All right,
Yeah.
next game.
So you
Go ahead.
You got it. Yeah. Let's move on to the next game. Next game is Bengals Lions, 34-11. And which is interesting about this game is that the spread opened up at 3.5. Very
Ooh.
small for a 4 or 3-2 team going against an 0-5 team. I did bet the 3.5 for the Lions. That screwed me. But
Yeah, I did not want to take the Lions, but I had in my notes maybe Bengals -3.5, but I ended up backing out just because I believed in Dan Campbell. But they're not good and they're really beat up right now. That's the thing. Like they have a ton of
you're right.
injuries, and so like there's just no way they could win. I didn't bet it, but if anyone, I was not.
I did.
I could not bet on the
did.
Lions. I mean, Jared Goff is not playing well, and they're so hurt. They're so hurt.
I did not learn my lesson because I've already put down, I think, plus 17 for the Lions this week. Some kind of crazy spread like that. Let me look it up. Oh yeah, plus 17 against the Rams. I did bet that.
I might stay away from that too. I mean, hey, it's Jared Goff revenge game. So
I mean, if you've been following the Instagram, I did hit in a parlay this week, 10 for 135. The Lions game was on that. I meant a halftime bet. I bet over the 33, and thankfully to Auden Tate and Brandon Allen, that bet came through. I mean, the Bengals are a legit team. I mean, let's talk about it because I kind of just been talking about my own thing right now, but the Bengals are a legit team. They're 4-2, 2 losses, one against the Bears, which is a little fluky. Joe Burrow threw 3 picks. And a very, very winnable game. They lost to the Packers. You know, it's a great team. I'm a big Packers guy right now, and I think that was a great game. They could have won that game easily. I mean, if they had a field goal.
I'm still, you know what the Bengals are? I think they're the biggest pretender that we have in the NFL right now. I just gotta say, like, hear me out. They don't have a good offensive line. They don't have a great defense.
It's better, though. It's better.
Their corners are not playing well.
Their corners are bad. You're right.
And who have they beat, right? Who have they beat? They beat the Lions. They barely beat the Jaguars. They probably should have lost that game. They barely beat the Vikings. They probably should have lost that game. And they beat the Steelers. So, like, their wins haven't been impressive. The best team they beat, maybe the Vikings, and the Vikings
They
probably
looked
should have
good
won
again
that game.
in the Packers game, to be fair to them. Though. They did look good.
I'll say they had a good chance to beat the Packers game, but the Packers still are the ones who blew that and almost gave them a chance.
Yeah, you're correct. I think the Packers should have won and they deserve to win, but
so
it doesn't take away
I
the
want to
fact
see the
they played
Bengals
well.
play the Browns. I want to see them play the Ravens. I don't think they beat either of those teams.
They are playing the Ravens this week.
I don't think they're favored against either of those
divisional matchup.
teams.
Well, they only opened up at 3.5 favorites against the Lions, which is definitely interesting. I think they're 6.5 plus 6.5 against the Ravens right now. But
here's what I'll say: I think they're like a 7 seed, maybe. It might be tough in the AFC, but I think they're like a 7 seed right now. Maybe not a playoffs contender. In that case, I don't know. I don't know about them.
Yeah, that's pretty much all of the game. I mean, Jamar Chase is the runaway rookie of the year is another story. Obviously, Dan Campbell went ham on Jared Goff in the press conference, was a big story. But you're right, it's a revenge game, and we'll see if Jared Goff responds well to the criticism.
All right, that was one of a few blowouts we had this week. Next game, Texans Colts. Shout out to all the followers of Big Dog Little Dog. I had Texans as the lock of the week this week, but in my defense, that was the best game I've seen Carson Wentz play in a long time.
No,
I don't know if you're
I
watching
agree.
that game. He was dropping dimes on deep balls. Like, that guy hasn't
just
thrown
about to bring it
deep
up.
the entire year. Like, literally his average just up target was like 6 yards, by far the lowest in the league. And then in that game, he throws like 4 deep balls just on the money, perfect. And the Texans were like there too. They wasn't like wide open. Oh man! And then the Texans also the Texans had over 300 yards of offense and 3 points. They had like 3 red zone turnovers. This game could have easily covered. I'd make the bet 10 out of 10 times, but sometimes it just doesn't go your way, man. And the Texans are a bad team.
Yeah, I do think the Texans are a bad team, but I think their defense is actually pretty respectable. Definitely not something. I mean, if they weren't losing the turnover differential by like -10 or something like that, maybe they'd be pretty good. Davis Mills, really disappointing after such a solid week last week to come out and throw 2 horrific picks. He looked pretty bad.
Other than that, though, I thought he was making plays. Like,
yeah,
they needed to convert in the red zone, but I think he has potential. He's not any worse than he hasn't been that much worse than any of the other rookie QBs.
Yeah, and considering what he's working, I don't know. He did throw 5 picks or something like that against the Bills. But you're right. He's working with trash, and he's playing like trash. That's just how it's going to happen. But I'm good to move on. I think the Colts, maybe I don't think
what do you
they
think
have a
about
chance to win the division, but they could sneak into the wild card. If Carson Wentz keeps playing like this, if they get healthier, they've been struggling. T.Y. Hilton came back this week, obviously made a difference.
He got hurt again.
Really?
Yeah.
How long is he out for?
I don't know. Maybe not that long, but
yeah, I mean, he did come back, caught a couple balls.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the narrative about the Colts is a lot different if they beat the Ravens last week, which they should have beat the Ravens.
They should have. I agree.
But I mean, they're like a playoff contender, maybe a playoff hopeful, I should say. All right, next game.
Coming in saying he cut the turnover issues. Yeah. I'm sorry, but that just didn't hold. 3 interceptions, 1 fumble lost. I mean, this Giants team is really being to the Giants. I mean, they're working with little receivers, no running back. But I mean, credit to the Rams. They just made the Giants look like pee-wee football team against an NFL team. It was an ugly game from start to finish. Cooper Kupp is maybe the league's best receiver right now. I mean, he's leading in targets, 46 receptions on the year, 7 touchdowns. I think he's second in yards behind Devontae Adams. It's hard to argue with those numbers. And he's wide open, dude. Every play, I swear to God, he's wide open. Mm-hmm. And Matthew Stafford is not impressed me at all. Even the pick he threw, I thought was pretty bad. Throws 4 TDs, 1 interception. People put him in the MVP race. For me, he's not even in that top 10.
Ooh, not top 10. He dropped some dimes, though. I'll say that.
I mean, I look at guaranteed guys who are above him, like Henry right now for sure is above him. Kyler's up for sure above him. Tom Brady's for sure above him for me. Even Josh Allen after tonight's still above him for me. I mean, I put Mahomes in there even with the way Mahomes has played. I still think he's more valuable to the Chiefs than he.
Are we talking about like actual value? Or talking about MVP? How it's voted?
Either way.
I think
how it's voted. Maybe
Stafford is.
Stafford has a chance. It's not my opinion.
I mean, Mahomes is like 8 picks already. That matters.
You're right, but I still think I would vote for Mahomes over I vote for Stafford. I think Stafford sucks. He's throwing a pick like every game.
Yeah. Well, but he was 22 for 28. It's like a Russell Wilson line, right? 22, 28, 250, 4 touchdowns.
Russell Wilson's deadly accurate, though.
That's pretty accurate. 22 for 28, bro.
That is not. Completion percentage does not equal accuracy. We know this.
Okay, but I mean, he's 28 tosses. He's not throwing volume, so.
Fair. You're right.
All right. I do want to touch on Cooper Kupp. I will say, as a Seahawks fan, I've been watching Cooper Kupp for years, and that guy was always underrated, and he was always open. Jared Goff missed him most of the time, or we would always like double him, which we should do because he's good.
Well, Robert Woods is good too. I'm just waiting for the Robert Woods breakout game. It's gonna happen one of these days.
It already happened against the Seahawks.
It wasn't too bad though.
He had 12 for like 160. What are you talking about? He absolutely destroyed the Seahawks. He was open like every single play in the second half.
Yeah, okay.
Not even honestly, I don't even think that was him really. It was just our defense, but
that's what I'm saying.
He did have a breakout game. I mean,
Robert Woods has done better than that in his career.
12 for 160.
Yeah, Robert Woods has put up multiple touchdown games.
Oh yeah, maybe fantasy wise, but yard wise.
All right. I'm ready to be done to talk about this game. I think.
Yeah. Giants have a
Rams,
brutal
Giants,
schedule
whatever.
coming up. They might be like 1-9.
Yeah. They were lucky to get the win over the Saints. Otherwise, they could have been undefeated season potentially.
Yeah.
Moving on, the Chiefs and the football team. Pat Mahomes didn't look great this
No.
game.
Again,
Neither did Taylor Heineke. It was
definitely
just a
not.
pretty ugly game if you watched it. Tyreek Hill drops too many balls, man. It's starting to get on my nerves. Why do we talk about DK Metcalf not having hands when Tyreek Hill literally is the same amount of
DK
drops?
has like one drop this year.
I know, and I mean, we'll talk about DK's play at the end of the game, but um, I think Tyreek Hill should get a little bit more stick for his drop balls. He's already led to 2 interceptions this year.
It's true.
I don't know. I still think the Chiefs are a top 10 team in the NFL. It's hard for me to say I wouldn't bet on them against a lot of teams in top 10, even then.
I mean, no one's arguing that. Obviously, they are.
Yeah.
But I think when you're looking at like Super Bowl odds, you got to consider how valuable it is to be a top seed, 1 seed, and if they don't win their division, it's so much harder as a wild card team. So it's just like looking at percentages. The Chiefs long term might not be in a great position unless they start really racking up the wins because you got to be a high seed.
Yeah, you're right, but their division looks vulnerable right now. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about AFC West maybe being the best division, but right now the Broncos have fallen apart. John Gruden scandal, obviously the Raiders, even after the win this week. The Chargers, we're going to get to it in just a few seconds here, so I'll wait on that. But this division is winnable for the Chiefs still, so you could definitely see them making a run. The Chiefs are not out of Super Bowl contention at all.
Oh, no, I'm just saying it's tough.
And they put together a solid defensive performance for the first time this year.
I agree. Their defense was better. Taylor Heineke looked bad.
Yeah, it is the football team, and Taylor Heineke did look bad. So it's hard to tell. I'm ready to move on. How about you?
Yeah.
There's not much to say about this game. Moving on, Vikings-Panthers OT game. Really a dominant performance from the Vikings. I'm surprised it was really this close. A couple fluky plays from the punt return touchdown. The Sam Darnold looked awful, I think, most of the game until the last drive.
He had that killer drive, though. He
it was beautiful. That fourth down throw to DJ Moore, that was a dime. A little back shoulder throw, just lobbed it up. But Kirk Cousins looks phenomenal. 373 yards on the day, 3 touchdowns. I still think Adam Thielen's probably right now one of the most underrated receivers in the league. Some of the catches he makes are just unreal. He's a red zone monster.
Yes.
I think he's got 4 touchdowns in the year. He had about even with the injuries last year, I don't think he played a lot of games, but he still was top 5 in touchdowns last year. As I said at the beginning of the year, I still think he's the number 1 in that team. Justin Jefferson is great, don't get me wrong, but Adam Thielen is a different animal and the same beast. You know what I mean?
I think Jefferson's
probably more talented, but right now Thielen's the number 1. If you know what I mean.
Probably. I think Jefferson needs more balls. Kirk Cousins needs to throw him more balls.
That's fair, but that's hard when Thielen's doing like that. I mean, it's hard to question Kirk Cousins right now. He's playing like a top 10 QB in the league. He's had a rough week last week, but
he had a rough 2 weeks. He had a rough 2 weeks.
Yeah, maybe a little 2 weeks.
The first 3 weeks he was killing it. Now he's back to killing it. He threw a dot to win the game in OT. I love that throw.
I think the Vikings are a playoff team this year. I think they're going to make it.
Especially in the NFC. In the NFC, I think they're
with the way the NFC West has played out. I definitely think so.
Yeah, we can talk about our playoff seeding after this, but
maybe mid-season.
Like who's
we'll
gonna
talk
make it? I think Vikings are one of those teams for sure. Panthers.
I think so too.
Since their hot start 3-0, they've lost the last 3 games, and I think they've had some opportunities against the Eagles. They completely blew that. Eagles aren't that great, as we've seen. The Vikings, I know they lost. They
could have won this game.
They definitely could have won this game. They had an incredible comeback. Even then,
they were leading at halftime against the Cowboys as well.
Cowboys game, yeah. So it's kind of all falling apart for them. They're definitely not a bad team. I just don't think they're really I think they'll be lucky to make the playoffs. They have a great schedule, but I just don't know. I don't know. I think this is their year. I think they need another year or another quarterback.
Yeah, I think the CMC injury was killer. I think the J.C. Horn injury was killer. I mean, those are two defensive leaders. I've heard J.C. Horn as a defensive leader already. Is a huge energy guy for that defense, and they still playing well without him. But you definitely could use him. CMC obviously is maybe not the best running back in the league anymore, but definitely top 3 when he's healthy. I mean, you could argue he's still the best. It's really hard right now with Derrick Henry, but I like CMC over Derrick Henry. Still,
even after that primetime showing from Derrick,
it is really tough. I was Derrick Henry, not even a top 3 back, most of this year, but it's become harder to deny the facts. You know what I mean?
He's going off this year. Like, it's not even close.
But we'll talk about it. The Panthers, hopefully they get back on track with CMC coming back. Might not be. I mean, he obviously was placed in IR, I think, but he'll come back. Maybe the Panthers can tread water until then.
I mean, you have an easy schedule. So
you're right.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think they make it, but it's possible with the way there's 7 seeds and the NFC's kind of weak.
Yeah. So moving on. Probably going into the weekend, you looked at this game, you marked it on your calendar. Game of the week: Chargers, Ravens, 4-1, both sides. Looking like maybe potentially 2 of the top 3 teams in the AFC with the Bills. And I'm just disappointed. I mean, Justin Herbert, who was almost a lot of people's favorite to win MVP after Week 5, just looked off. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
He was like, I watched some of that game. He was missing throws.
He missed throws on every play.
Down. When he needed them, he just wasn't there. It wasn't there. And we've seen the Ravens defense not look good this year. They've dropped 30 to the Raiders, 35 to the Chiefs. I don't know, even 27 to the Colts feels pretty bad. So the Raiders defense is definitely penetrable, and he was struggling.
Yeah, and even Lamar. I mean, he threw 2 picks.
Lamar didn't look great.
Didn't have much going on. But the 3 running backs all scored. I think it was Le'Veon Bell, Devonta Freeman, and was it Lat Murray, I think, was the last guy?
Yeah, those 3.
Yeah, I mean, if they can run the ball, we've seen the Ravens be successful with that type of offense, even with Lamar not able to pass, even though he's been able to pass and come back from wins. And, you look at all these unimpressive games from the Ravens. I mean, not including this one, but the Colts game, the Raiders game, the Chiefs game.
No,
they
this is
arguably
the
should have lost.
We're talking about
for the Ravens.
No, like the 5th. Are you talking about for the Ravens?
No, I'm talking about the Ravens schedule. Gotcha. But yeah, this week's been really imbalanced. But talking about the Ravens game to the Chiefs, the Ravens game to the Raiders. Great teams find ways to win, and that's how they're doing it. They're scrappy. They're winning games. I think the Ravens are legit. A lot of people are still doubting them, but it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue right now. It's hard to argue.
I'm doubting them. I think they've gotten lucky. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I think they've gotten incredibly lucky.
I know. I'm sure you are.
I think they easily should have lost to the Lions. They didn't get that delay of game. I mean, it was a great kick by Justin Tucker, but it sneaked in there barely. I should never came to that. I mean, the Chiefs game. Yeah, I don't know if you want to call it luck, but whatever. They've gotten some variants roll their way, which is good. It's important, but I don't know how much is them being great and them being lucky. Although they did dominate the Chargers. I think obviously the Chargers are going to be fine. I think the Ravens are obviously one of the better teams. It's just one of those days in the NFL. I'm pretty surprised to hear the Chargers could only put up 6. It makes me, one thing it makes me think about is Brandon Staley has been crowned as a new great coach. But you think of coaches like Bill Belichick, you think of coaches like Pete Carroll, just like these old coaches. Like when was the last time you saw the Patriots or the Seahawks get blown out 34-6?
You're right.
Like they would never let that happen. They would never let that happen.
Even this week, you saw it with you saw the Patriots with the Saints game. I mean, they kind of fought back into a clawed. The Cowboys game is a great example. The Seahawks game this week, I mean, they're down 14-0 at halftime. The game looked lost.
I mean, the Chargers had most of their guys.
That's just coaching right there.
Yeah, and they lost by 28 points. You can't. I just don't see that ever happening with some of the coaches in the league. And then
Yeah,
Brandon
I
Staley's just
think
an amazing
and
coach, but
they
he had
went
all his
for it
guys,
on
and they just
fourth down.
blew it.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of averages. I mean, he went for it on fourth down in his own half twice. Didn't get it twice. That's the risky business he's been playing all year, and it's finally bit him in the ass. So
Yeah, Justin
tough for
Herbert
Brandon
wasn't
Staley.
making plays, so
Yeah,
and they got blown
maybe you
out.
should punt the ball.
If they're so good, they shouldn't be getting blown out, but that's how it goes sometimes. All right,
Yeah,
let's go to the sixth blowout of the weekend. Cardinals 37, Browns 14. And I thought the Cardinals got pretty lucky early on. They got a few really nice calls go their way. I thought that roughing the passer and Kyler was extremely soft early on. The fumble, Baker's fumble on their own territory, really kind of lost this game for the Browns right away. And then after that, they were trying to play catch up. And with a team like the Cardinals, you can't really play catch up.
I know. I mean, you're talking about the Browns getting lucky too. I mean,
they had the Hail Mary and they still lost by
yeah, the Hail
points.
Mayfield, the Hail Mayfield. Shout out Donovan Peoples-Jones, 2 touchdowns in the day, 98 yards. Maybe bring out a year for him with OBJ, looking like trash as always.
Oh yeah, I thought he played pretty well. I thought he played pretty well.
I mean, he seems to drop key downs.
He did drop
balls
that
and key downs.
one play that could have given him a good chance at getting back in this game. But overall,
I just don't see what OBJ provides, to be honest with you.
Well, I have no doubt it's either Baker or OBJ's last year on this team.
I'd almost bet it's on OBJ.
Actually, does Baker have another year? He might. I might be wrong.
He does. He does have another year in his contract. Also, the town loves Cleveland. There's no way they let that man go. I think he might have extended. Did he?
No, he definitely did not get extended. That's definitely a big topic of discussion. I don't think it's guaranteed by any means. I mean, he did not play well is the thing. Like, he didn't play well. He had that turnover. His shoulders jacked up too. So, I mean, he's battling right now, but they didn't play well. The Browns did not play well.
Yeah, not much to say. I mean, the Cardinals are 6-0 after 6 weeks. AJ Green and JJ Watt look like great signings. I mean, you were low on them. I was high. That was my number one signings of the summer. And
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree. I thought JJ Watt was trash. I mean, I thought he was bad last year, and I thought AJ Green wasn't great last year either. Both of them are hurt. JJ Watt felt like he wasn't really contributing that much to the team. But he's playing well and he fits right in because this defense is scrappy. On paper, they don't look great, but this defense is scrappy. So, I mean, if the Cardinals can play this well on defense all year and their offense is being, normal with all the weapons they have, Rondale Moore, AJ Green, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, both backs. Now Zach Ertz, we forgot about that. They just added Zach Ertz, just another weapon. But it's going to be tough for them. They're going to be hard out no matter who they play. They might not be the best team in the NFL, but they're one of the best.
Yeah, sorry for that, guys. I'm in a not ideal situation right now.
But you got to grind it for the BDLD,
I'm always grinding. But yeah, you said it correctly. AJ Green and JJ Watt look dominant. I'm not dominant, but they look like definite signs. These are like former All-Pro players. Yeah, contributors to a playoff team for sure. And I'm stumped for words on the Cardinals. I said they're the pretenders. I still think they are. They're not the 6-0.
I mean, let's go back to your take last week. Cardinals aren't making the playoffs.
In my defense, I was given a short amount of time to come up with a hot take.
Actually, you did say you said if they won. You said if they won this week, then they're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I did say that. I don't know if I said Super Bowl. I said they're Super Bowl contenders. And it's to be fair to that, I don't believe that anymore. I didn't realize the Browns were going to come in so injured. It's hard to win games.
Pretty banged up.
With their a lot of their roster gone, but the Cardinals have a free win this week. I'm pretty sure. I forgot to check, but
Texans,
yeah, okay. Which I bet on that spread too. I think it's plus 15. Call me crazy. But yeah. That's not much to say for me on that one.
Yeah, I thought the Browns are kind of in trouble with 3-3. They're going to be fighting for a wild card spot, even though I think they're one of the best teams. They're just not healthy, and they've taken some tough L's. games they might need to win in the future. Might need to have won. All right, let's go to NFC or AFC West battle. Raiders at Broncos. Raiders kind of dominated this game for most of the game. Teddy came back a little bit in the garbage time, it felt like, but Derek Carr had a great game, 341, 2 touchdowns. Teddy Bridgewater has really regressed after his first 3 games. He's been struggling to put up the numbers. He's been struggling to lead this offense. The Teddy we saw at the beginning of the season and not the Teddy we're seeing now. Teddy we're seeing now is what we've expected from Teddy. And top that off with the Broncos defense struggling. I don't know what kind of injuries they're dealing with. I know they're missing their 2 starting linebackers, which is a pretty big deal. But last week they gave up 27 to the Steelers, who we know aren't good on offense. And then this week, 34 to the Raiders. Just big plays after big plays. It kind of feels to me like the Broncos are the worst out of this division. And the Raiders, I think they have fight, but I just don't know if it's the case with the way their O-line is and their Derek Carr just needs a perfect situation. I don't know if he's going to have that.
A little bit of an intermission right now. Akahi Trotsky, that would be me. Just want some money. Let's celebrate for Akahi Trotsky. Anytime 3-pointer Steph Curry hits, buy the freest $15 I've ever made in my life.
What was the bet?
Oh, it was anytime 3-pointer in the Warriors-Lakers game for Steph Curry. So he should hit 1-3.
And how much? What were the odds of that?
It's a max $5 bet, plus 200.
So you
max
win.
$5 bet.
Okay.
So I won 15. I won $10. $10. That was $10.
That's probably the easiest bet ever.
It is, and he's on track to take my double bet right now. So. Let's hope for that.
NBA coverage coming in the future.
Yeah, could be. I mean, today was the debut start of the season. But going back to it, not much to say about the Raiders Broncos game. A lot of people saw this upset coming. Upset because they opened up as favorites. But you're looking at statistical history of interim head coaches jumping in midseason. The win percentage is actually really higher than you would think. Although this is different circumstances than most coach firings.
Agreed.
But the Raiders are just a better team. You maybe look at the Broncos. They were the biggest pretenders after week 3. They played 3 of the worst teams in the league, and now they've lost 3 straight. To not great teams. I mean, the Raiders by no means are a top 10 team right now to me. And that same goes for the Steelers. You saw how much they struggled with the Seahawks. So
yeah, I agree.
I'm not impressed by this performance. I think both these teams aren't going to make playoffs. Kind of a throwaway game.
The Raiders have a fighter's chance. I think they're playoff hopeful.
Hopeful.
I mean, they've beaten some teams that might be competing with them. But the Broncos, it's not their year. They need a new quarterback. That's really what it is. All right, let's go to the best afternoon game of the week. We got the Cowboys going to the Patriots. This was a fun game. Dak Prescott went off for 445 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have a pick and a fumble, though, both in the red zone. Pretty costly plays.
Little inaccurate, too. It wasn't Dak's greatest game. He played well, but it wasn't his greatest game.
He definitely is playing well and played well, but, it was not his greatest game. He kind of still has a little bit of Dak in him, old Dak. On the flip side, Mac Jones led a really solid performance. I thought he didn't really make any bad throws. He had a great dime on Trayvon Diggs' guy, Kendrick Bourne, for the 75-yard comeback touchdown to put the Patriots up at the end of the game. I mean, it was crazy. That was crazy. That series of events, take us over it.
Okay. I watched this game extremely intensely. In fact, I was late to a class because of it. I was screaming throughout the whole
class?
I had it was like an optional Zoom thing.
Gotcha.
But oh gosh, I had Cowboys money line in my bet, so obviously I was going crazy. The Trayvon Diggs. So what happened was, I think the first play was, they went down. It was 2014. The Patriots scored a touchdown. They come down 4th and 1. I'm screaming at Mike McCarthy, go for it, go for it, go for it. I couldn't believe they didn't go for it.
True.
Took a 51-yard set in Foxborough or something like that with Greg Zuerlein, who's not the most accurate guy. Definitely has a leg, but not the most accurate dude. go for it, especially how dominant your running backs have been. Tony Pollard and Ezekiel look good. So he misses the field goal. I think it's a holding, then a short play, then it's ball's put a little bit in the outstretched hands of Kendrick Bourne.
He should have caught it.
On his hands. He should have caught it. And my goodness, Trayvon Diggs gets lucky again.
So lucky.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. The ball's in his hands.
In stride.
In his hands. And then it was just touchdown from there. And I was going crazy. I'm like, yes. Go Cowboys. Probably the only time I ever cheered for the Cowboys in my life.
Hopefully.
Then the kickoff happens. Then bang. Double move. Kendrick Bourne makes Trayvon Diggs look like an absolute fool.
The safety. I'll say the safety.
Demonte Casey should have made a play. But no doubt he got beat. I mean, cover one man, beat over the top. That's just not. I mean, Trayvon Diggs is Jameis Winston. I said it in the game. It's become known across Twitter right now. I said it in the game. My first reaction to that play was Jameis Winston. That guy is Jameis Winston.
But are you a Winston believer or a Winston hater?
I am not a Winston believer. I think Trayvon Diggs is not a
Some
good
people love Jameis Winston, man. Some people think he's
good. I'll give it to the fact that if he can have ball skills, because he definitely has above average ball skills.
Yeah,
he does breaking the ball really well. Not this game, but the ones where he's cutting over hitch routes. He's definitely got ball skills. That definitely has value. But by no means is he the runaway decoy. I mean, that's just outrageous.
I agree.
It's outrageous.
I mean, I'm not a big believer, but he's obviously his value as a player.
The holding call, I think it was Jacoby Myers.
Yeah,
was about his first touchdown of his career. Are you kidding me? He had about 6 yards of separation on that too.
I thought it was a bad holding call too, to be honest.
It's.
They should have given up 2 touchdowns that game.
Continuing to the thing, then you see a crazy game, 4th down. Shout out Cedric Wilson. What a snag! Do you see that play? What a snag!
That was a good throw, good catch, dude.
It was a good throw, great catch.
I thought it was a good defense. Cedric Wilson definitely could have dropped that ball, and I wouldn't have blamed him.
I wouldn't have either. It was a high-pointed ball, and then. I mean, that man, CeeDee Lamb, is different, dude. You give him the ball in open space, he makes plays. He gets separation. And so it was a 24-yard catch, basically. Oh, it was 3rd and 25, I think, 24-yard catch, then 4th and 1. Cedric Wilson made the play. Then I think they went a couple more out routes, and then, bang, great leg, hits it. I still think they should have gone for it. It was like 37 seconds left. I was screwing at McCarthy to go for it again. But he didn't. He took the field goal. They stopped the to be fair to Mac Jones, usually they're not a very explosive team. The Patriots weren't successful. And then in overtime, the Patriots started with the ball. Mac had a nice throw, but I think they couldn't run the ball because they were stacking the box. And if without Ramondre and Damian Harris getting going, it was struggling.
Yeah, Aguilar had a drop. Aguilar had a drop on that first and 10. They would have gotten probably 20 yards, but.
And then the next drive is just it was casual Dak and Zeke and Tony just going on it. And I think Tony is that guy, dude. I still believe in Tony over Zeke. I do think Zeke is very impressive, but Tony turns 0 yards into 5, I swear. Zeke turns 5 into 10, but he has to get 5 first. So I don't know.
Yeah, going back to the overall picture of the game, Patriots falling to 2-4. I think Patriots fans just got to accept this is going to be a rebuilding year. Mac Jones is looking promising, but you got an aging defense. Your weapons still really aren't there on offense. Next year, you can bring in some weapons. Mac Jones will have a year of experience under his belt, and you guys might be able to contend for the playoffs. You guys are doing pretty well now, but I just don't think their talent is there this year, and Mac Jones needs time. I think the Cowboys are looking very dangerous. I will give them credit for that. They've rattled off 5 wins after their close loss to Tampa Bay in Week 1. I think what's holding them back might be Mike McCarthy. He made some very questionable decisions in my mind, especially with how good their offense is playing and their offensive line. I think you got to be really aggressive with how they're playing.
I couldn't believe that call.
And their defense is not. You don't want to put.
They were not stopping the run at all at that time.
Yeah,
how could you trust the defense?
You don't want to put the game in the hands of your defense right now. When your offense is this good, don't even put it to your defense. Just give it to Dak. Give it to Zeke. Let the O-line go to work. I think that's all you need to do.
Yeah, and that's as much as we can say about the game. I mean, the Patriots should have won this game. I mean, Jacoby Myers makes that catch. Trevon Diggs doesn't get that pick six. The game's kind of over. They run out that clock. But moving on, Sunday Night Football.
What a game!
Obviously, a sore subject in this podcast. Next week we may be catching you live at the game. Who knows? We'll talk about it.
Live reaction after. We'll see.
I gotta say, maybe our first BDLD podcast with us both in person. Maybe. But I gotta say, even in the loss, I'm proud of the Seahawks. I think we were clearly the worst of the two rosters going into the game and during the game. I mean, our hero is Alex Collins, who did look good. I mean, DJ Dallas got in there. Travis Homer had some big runs.
And the O-line was making holes, though. Let's give credit where credit is due in the second.
They were,
in that third quarter, they were dominating.
Good defensive line.
They were dominating that defensive line for that quarter.
And you look at a couple plays that, I mean, the fumble ban, we should have taken advantage of that. They just didn't let Geno cook it loose.
They got that. I mean, from a Seahawks perspective here, I don't know what the Pittsburgh fans were thinking, or neutral fans, but after that fumble, we had a nice 17-yard run. It would have been 1st and 10 on the 19, but they called a holding. And, it's really tough against that defensive line to be 1st and 20 with Geno Smith. Like, it's pretty irrecoverable, in my opinion. Just with the way,
and it was a pretty soft call. I do understand why they called it, but
I don't know, man. He was driving him that way. Like, the guy did not make that much of a move to even get there. I did not like the call.
One thing to know about my co-host is he seems to always favor the Seahawks when it comes to penalties. So
that is not true.
You can check the Twitter feed. You can check the Twitter feed.
Check the Twitter feed. See, I thought, the penalty, you could call it, but I think if you call that, you can call a lot more penalties that they do not call. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah, Geno. I love the Geno love. Trade Ross, garbage, whatever that is. Garbage. But Geno has. I'm not gonna hate on Geno. It's not the reason. His strip sack, maybe it was the play that lost us the game, but his play was not what lost us the game. Obviously, if we had Russ, I think we win that game. But I'm not going to blame Geno for the loss. He put in a good effort. He made some nice throws. That throw in overtime to Tyler Lockett, that was an absolute dime. It sucks we couldn't take advantage of it. Defense played well. They made stops when it counts. Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks both having 18 tackles. Ridiculous stat. Trey Brown.
14, wasn't it?
I think it was 18. Depends on what you look at, though, as numbers. But the Seahawks Instagram posted it. I think it's 18 they posted. Wow. But Trey Brown, man, that might be that dude. I remember that third down play on overtime.
I think
great.
That tackle he made was amazing. You don't see that very often by anyone in the NFL. And he squared him up, drove him back, but it was just solid. It was just solid.
It had Earl Thomas vibes. Not saying they're the same players, but that's the kind of tackles he used to make.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
I'm just go blind shoulder. He's like Earl Thomas tackles like Jamal Adams.
Oh, Jamal Adams. We'll talk about our two most hated players in the league maybe in a few seconds. I definitely want to talk about. I don't even want to talk about the Steelers. So let's just get that.
Well, let's talk about how crazy that game was. I mean, like, first of all, we gotta give shout out to Darrell Taylor. He's gonna be okay. He was on the ground for a solid 10 minutes.
Played a freaking phenomenal game too.
He played pretty solid. He's obviously an up and coming player for the Seahawks. Looks like he's gonna be okay. Looks like he's gonna be okay. Saying there's a possibility he plays this week. I'm a little doubtful, but there's a possibility. Which overall means he's in good shape though.
The news was that there's scans come out all good. Maybe there's a shoulder issue. They were checking the neck, and maybe there's a shoulder issue. He didn't want to be taped down to the stretcher. It wasn't apparently that serious, but they acted with caution, which I'm sure was the right move. Don't get me wrong, could have been a lot worse. But he wanted to play. He wanted to get back up at least. So that's good news. Everything good with Darrell Taylor. I'm very happy about that. You expected it could have been like career ending based on how it looked, but I would love to see him play live. I'd love to see it if he could. Especially with the long week, it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. And maybe we'll do a Seahawks preview later this week, maybe.
Yeah, potentially. It'd be tough. It'd be tough.
But either way, I just want to look at the big picture. Seahawks do fall to 2-4, which it wasn't like there's two sides to look at it, right? The Seahawks played a great game with their backup quarterback, at least for some of it. They had a chance to win. They played pretty well, but they didn't win. And in the big picture, they don't have a first-round pick, so there's really no value in these losses. And so every week that we lose, every week that we don't come out on top, we've had chances with the Titans, we have chances with the Rams, we have chances with the Steelers. It's just another game that they're falling behind in the playoff race. And for the Steelers, this is almost a must-win game if they want to make the playoffs. I don't think anyone thinks they're a Super Bowl contender, but making the playoffs is cool, and this is a big game for them, and they got it. So 3-3, you're in a decent spot if you can rattle off some games. Make it tough against your division. Then you could possibly go to the playoffs this year. But yeah, I mean. Anyway, I thought Seahawks are a bit in trouble, 2-4 right now. If they don't pick up their they need to win one or two of the next games probably to have a fighting chance to make the playoffs. And Steelers, yeah. But anyway, I don't know if you have any more thoughts on that game. We'll jump to the final game of the weekend, which was Bills versus the Titans, and that was quite a banger, if you ask me. Another almost overtime game. We got to see Derrick Henry, on national television really show you why he might be the best running back in the league. He hit 21.8 miles per hour, running at 250 pounds, which is unreal. And honestly, Josh Allen, I thought, played a pretty solid game. He was dicing them up. He had a few bad throws on deep balls, surprisingly, but he was missing those. He had a few underthrows. And this really came down to one play, and it's been the talk of the town for the last 24 hours. And it was the 4th and inches. So Bills are down 31-34. There's about 30 seconds left in the game. Josh Allen scrambles on 3rd and 6. He gets down about 1 foot short of the line, 4th down. They need a field goal to tie. Touchdown to win. I think they're on the 6-yard line. And so the question is here: do you kick the field goal, go to overtime, pretty much guaranteed? I don't think there's enough time for the Titans here to get into field goal range, or do you go and try to get the first down and then try to win? And obviously, Sean McDermott's a pretty aggressive coach, and I actually think it was the right call, even though hindsight's 20/20. But the Bills, they go for it, 4th and inches. Josh Allen is stopped short. Absolutely stonewalled by Jeffrey Simmons, and they lose. And I mean, you're not really worried about the Bills. I think what this game says more about is the Titans. They started off kind of struggling. They lost the Jets with like half their team out, but they've racked up some nice wins along the way. I think they can pose a threat to some teams in the. I think they can pose a threat to some teams in the AFC. They might be able to sneak in the 3rd seed with the way their division is playing. It'll be interesting to see them play against the Chiefs next week.
Yeah, sorry. I've been struggling right now. Internet issues, tough time. But yeah, talking about the Bills game, I think it was a good call. I think the Titans are a good team. Not much to say about it for me. I think they're both top 10 teams. I probably have the Bills still better than Titans. I still think they win that game 9 times out of 10. I think the O-line just got mauled a little bit on that play. Josh Allen lost his footing. But yeah, that's most I got to say about this game. I think these are 2 playoff teams for sure, both division winners.
Yeah, and I think one thing we saw is that the Bills' defense, although good, is not dominant like their stats have shown. I don't think any defense this year is really dominant. And the Bills, have been one of the top defenses, and they dropped 34 points to the Titans. So I don't think anyone's too crazy locked down right now. All right, that wraps it up for the weekend. Do you want to do a quick power rankings?
I do want to mention one thing, because I think as Seahawks fans we probably should address it. Our 2 fucking clowns, excuse my language, but Jamal Adams and DK Metcalf do need to be mentioned. Jamal Adams obviously controversial statement on his NBC. I'm the best in the league.
Did you
No,
really?
you are not,
Best
Jamal.
in the nation. Did you not see
Best
the
in the nation.
reference?
I get the reference. I don't care, dude. He sucks. Jamal Adams angers me now. I'm officially angered after that. After the one time he makes a good play in the game and it hits off his helmet. Are you kidding me, dude?
All
Are
right,
you kidding
well,
me? You're
let
in the
me interrupt
NFL,
you real
man.
quick. Yeah, so anyway, the best in the nation was a reference to Travis Ward. He also did the same clip. It was kind of a meme back in the day. And RIP, he's dead now. So maybe it was a little reference to him. And, you could say, I don't like that, but I like the confidence regardless. Like, I think Jamal Adams has not played well this season, but, it's 6 games. If you look at the last 6 games of Russell Wilson's season compared to his career, what are you going to say? He's still a great player. Jamal Adams, the last 6 games compared to the rest of his career, he's been a pretty dominant player.
16 games, I'd say. But
I don't know about that.
Moving on about Jamal Adams, let's talk about clown number 2, DK Metcalf. Give me a second here.
Yeah, all right. DK Metcalf, he had that one play at the end of the game. I think there's about 18 seconds left. He catches an out route, 15-yard out, tries to get a extra yardage, doesn't go out of bounds right away, and gets the ball punched out. And obviously you're like, DK, what the hell are you doing? But Freddie Swain recovers it. All ends up working out. There's a lot of controversy now. He's also been, Twitter feuding with Shannon Sharp, one of the GOATs. He says something about he'll wipe his butt with Shannon Sharp's resume, which is a little questionable. He ended up taking that back. I think.
Oh yeah.
DK.
I'm sorry to jump in, but DK, you suck. DK, I hate you.
I mean, DK does not suck. I think he's a great player. I think
Nah, you suck.
I think even in that play that people think was bad, he got punched out, but I think he had easy run out of bounds. He was not expecting a fumble. Obviously, you can blame him for the fumble, but if he doesn't fumble, then what? He just gets a few extra yards, makes it easier on Jason Myers. I don't know if anyone thought Jason Myers was going to make that kick. I didn't think he was going to make it, and he made it. So, maybe it was DK's extra effort that got it there.
The ball security was terrible.
I agree.
The effort after was terrible. I mean, he literally didn't. After he fumbled, he just walked off the field. I couldn't believe it. I was frustrated. He didn't run to deal with the spike. And then obviously the Twitter thing, he was just like, I don't know. He cares more about the media than he should. That's what I think.
I agree. I think he definitely he plays with a chip on his shoulder, whether it's real or not. I guess he did fall pretty hard, but he does take things very personally. But I think that adds to his that is why he is who he is. So you got to take the good and the bad.
Yeah, and let's do the power rankings really quick here because I do have to go.
Let's drop it.
Epic. But I'll go first. I'll do just a quick sentence on each guy. It's obviously everybody's favorite segment. Number 5, the Arizona Cardinals. Hard for me to argue to put them off this list.
Number 5.
I really wanted them off of the list. I don't think they're a good team. One loss, and I'm taking them out. I do. I am. And top 5 is my respect. The Ravens at 4. I think they just keep finding a way to win games. And a lot of teams I would have put above them they beat already. Or they beat teams that beat them. Next, I have the Bucs. I just think the Rams game was a little bit of a trap game. Bad matchup. And since then, they've looked dominant in most games. Even in the Patriots game, I felt like they were going to win it. And then number 2, I have the Rams. They beat the Bucs. The Cardinals game was also a trap game. It was a divisional game. Coming off a huge Bucs game. I still think they're a good team. Even though they look susceptible to the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks play almost everybody tough, so I don't blame them. It was in Lumen Field. First time with fans in the stands. Mm-hmm. Or not the first, second time with fans in the stands. Obviously, it was very loud on Thursday night prime time. It was a little fluky, too. And then number 1, I have the Packers. I just think they're the most complete team in the league. I think Aaron Rodgers is that bad man.
Man, I don't know about that.
I think week 1 is 20 years ago at this point.
True.
And since then, they're 5-0. And they've beat every team they've beat in front of them, and they've beat some good teams.
So no Cowboys this week?
No. I did a whole list. I got the Cowboys at 6 and the Bills at 7.
So they're creeping
for people
in.
That are wondering. Those are the 2 guys that are on a lot of people's list, but they're 6 and 7.
All right, I think we got some similarities. I think the Cardinals are being disrespected. I'll say I wasn't a big believer, but after this past week where they handled their business, Even if the Browns were shorthanded, they handled that game. So I got to give them respect at number one, especially with the Bills falling off. I think you might argue the Bucs would be favored on a neutral field, probably. Chiefs would probably be favored on a neutral field, probably. That'd be close. Bills probably favored on a neutral field, but I think Arizona Cardinals have a great chance at winning those games with the way they're playing right now. So I'm gonna go Cardinals 1. Second, I'm gonna come back to the Buccaneers. I think even when they're struggling, not super healthy, they're just racking up wins. Tom Brady's always a threat. You're right, that Rams game felt a little fluky. But overall, I think the Buccaneers are a really solid team. And then I'm going to jump over to the Bills. I had them at 1 last week. I think they're one play away, 1 foot away from winning this game. They didn't play well on defense, but overall, I think they're definitely one of the biggest contenders, if not the guy to knock off in the AFC still. So I got them at 3. Next at 4. I think I got to go with the Rams. Again, they lost to the Cardinals. That felt like a letdown spot for them. They did get lucky, somewhat fluky game against the Seahawks, but a win is a win, right? So if we're gonna bring up the Ravens, I think the Rams have been a little less fluky and just been a little more dominant in their games. So I got Rams at 4. And for this last one, it was a really tough decision. I think you could go one of 3 ways here. You can go Packers again at 5. You can go Ravens, or you could go Cowboys. You can go all 3 of these teams. And because I have biases against both the Ravens and the Cowboys, and the Packers have been in my top 5 for a couple weeks now, and they won another game, I'm going to go Packers. Packers have just been really solid. Aaron Rodgers is still a great quarterback. Their O-line is getting healthy. They're missing a bunch of players and racking up wins, similar to the Ravens. But I'm just more sold on Aaron Rodgers than Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott. So I'm taking Aaron Rodgers, Packers 5th. What do you think?
I like the list. I like it. I'm excited to see what goes on. I think we got 5-1 swapped, but yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Are we done? All right, we are done. Tune in maybe later this week. We'll have the responsible bet, maybe another Seahawks preview. We'll see. If not, catch us next week recapping the Seahawks and the